ain't no breeze. It shakes the windows and it takes the trees, and it blew me away. I love my work, that's what life's about. Then that wind came and blew it all up the spout. Yes, it blew me away. And what shall I do? That wind left me here without a clue. It blew me away. And you were the boss, and yet here we meet. Yeah, we both lost on that windy street. It blew us both away.
I don't know where to begin. I've been referring to Michal as a gold mine because we met very recently when I did a gig in New York, a jazz guitar, all jazz guitars. With
three guitars.
Three guitars.
No waiting.
Yeah, with the great Bruce Arnold, who's over there.
Yes.
And
I'm refereeing tonight to make sure that everything goes equal. So.
I met Bruce through Stu Ham, the bassist, who I played for many years ago, who's well known for playing with Joe Satriani, and you and Stu went to Berklee College of Music together.
Yeah, played many times, and as Stu says, we sharpened our teeth on each other. You know, we learned how to play together.
Exactly, and Bruce became a jazz player in New York, taught at NYU and a lot of other places, and we sort of know each other that way, and that was my connection to Michal. Yeah. And you just never know how these connections are going to work, and I just think it's really cool, and I'm really glad to have met you both.
Yeah. Bruce said, Alex is interested in world music, and it kind of went from there.
And it was perfect, too, because Michal has not only put together world music compilations for Ellipsis Arts, you have done videos for Link TV. Right. You are a Huffington Post blogger.
Yes.
And you have your own world music videos that you do.
That's right. In general, I started doing videos, and I was always interested in the intersection of music with visuals, because I think that visuals give people, particularly when it comes to world music, it gives people, it's like the Rosetta Stone. If you can see somebody performing, it helps you to understand what the music is about. Sometimes music is not entirely accessible, but if you see the music being performed, it really does a magnificent service.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Now, with Planetary Coalition, we've talked a little bit about it. This is sort of me trying to be Ry-Cooder, sort of, but it's different. What we're trying to do is capture some world music, capture some collaborations. I hope to be, respectful with the music. People know me as a heavy metal player, some know me as a jazz player, and I'm planning to step into these situations and make it work musically somehow. And when I hear a lot of the music that you've helped capture, I'm very inspired.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so I've heard you, but I've seen your videos with musicians from Africa, Turkey. I heard
Eskimo.
very interesting Eskimo musicians. And you're just this authority on music from all over the world that doesn't get heard that much, not enough attention is paid to. So I want to talk more about that.
I think that I think the most important thing to say about any of this music is that, particularly here in the United States, we don't get to hear it because so much of our music is controlled by commercial interests. And so if you want to hear this music, you really have to work a little bit harder. But it's worth the search, because every music that's ever been created will take you to a different place. You know, the music you play, that takes people to one particular place. Classical music, Western classical music, that'll take someone to yet another place. You keep going to all the kind of music that's being created all over the world. It takes you to yet all those different places. And it is nothing but an enriching experience. It's a wonderful way to travel inside your head. And it's a wonderful way also to learn about other cultures.
I agree, and it seems to resonate. This music resonates with a lot of people. We were speaking during dinner, and you were talking about entering an art store in the East Village with some guy that looked like he could play in Slipknot, with tattoos and with the hair and the piercings.
Yes, yes.
And
He was listening to Oh Death
yes,
by Ralph Stanley.
By Ralph Stanley, which was made popular in the film Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah, and I tell people a lot that actually filmmakers are probably the musician's best friend these days, because they're not answerable to radio stations, they're not answerable to the music business in the way that almost any other apparatus of the music business is. It's a very interesting situation. I think that people tend to watch movies, and because they're watching a movie, the soundtrack becomes something that they're very accepting of. And they don't think about, oh, it's in another language, do I really understand what they're singing about, should I like it, should I not like it? All of those preconceptions kind of get put on hold. And as a result, the music just sort of goes into them, and they're able to experience it the way it should be experienced, without preconceptions.
Yeah. Now, that music, like Ralph Stanley, that somehow we associate that with world music. You know, that's very much American music.
Well,
Why is that?
people used to say to me, well, what's world music? And of course, this world music
Yeah. Why does
has
that
gone
count?
through so many different kinds of, interpretations. What does world music mean? I used to tell people world music is from any country that's not where you're from. But then, of course,
Makes
if you're a
sense.
Frenchman, then the ethnic music from the United States is world music,
Sure, sure.
right? So it's
But
still
it's ethnic music.
it's ethnic music. Essentially, it's music that has a cultural root.
Right.
It's not. It's in other words, yes, of course, American music that's from Louisiana, Cajun music, that's world music. Tex-Mex music, that's world music. We may not think of it because it's right here within our borders, but it is.
What makes it world music? Because it's traditional. It's not heard on the radio very rarely. Maybe
Well, the fact that it's not
college
heard on the
radio
radio, I mean, that lumps it together with any number of other kinds of music. But
That's true.
that's a whole other issue. I think if you're going to try to describe world music, it's something that says, this is a music from a specific place, a specific history. And I think history is a very important thing. You can't separate from music in general, from most kinds of music. And I think what's very interesting to me about world music is that the more I listen to it, the more I become involved in the history of the places from which it comes.
Sure, sure.
It's like a little history lesson in a note.
I find that too with it's interesting being very immersed in the heavy metal scene. I find when I go to other countries, a lot of the metal fans, and particularly the musicians from those countries, are very aware of the traditions there. You know, in Argentina, even if guys play, you know, in very heavy metal bands, you know, they know the music of Astor Piazzolla.
Of course.
Um,
It's de rigueur, you have to.
Yeah, and it's the same thing in a lot of other countries. For some reason in the United States, there isn't that connection with the traditional music. So I thought this was a really interesting example. You know, the fellow who heard this soundtrack
Yes.
with traditional music from the United States.
I think.
Yeah, why do you think that is?
I think the problem is that, as I said before, we don't get to hear it in our normal ways of listening. Certainly it's not played on the radio.
In this country.
In this
Yeah.
country.
Yeah, and I think in other countries it's different.
In Europe, certainly it's
Yeah.
different. They have a
There's
much
more
different
exposure
attitude.
to it.
Yes, and maybe it just has to do with an attitude, a more open ear.
Mm-hmm.
It's very possible. But here in the United States, I think one of the most shameful statements I ever heard coming out of anybody's mouth was somebody who said to me, "I would never listen to music that's not sung in English."
I'm offended by that.
I know. The thought bubble over my head was, "And you say this without shame?"
Yeah.
You know, there is
Yeah,
a very close-minded, xenophobic notion that if something isn't sung in English, somehow it's alien. And I think that goes entirely, it contradicts everything that I feel about music, which is that although I don't subscribe to the idea that music is the universal language, blah, 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 I do believe that whether a song is sung in English or another language really has very little to do with your appreciation of the music. When I was a little kid, my parents brought home operas that I listened to in all kinds of languages, and it never bothered me that one was in Italian or one was in Russian or one was in German or whatever, or French. It didn't matter to me. I was listening to music. The notes came into my body purely and gave me emotion, right? There's no reason that music from any part of the world should be any different to anybody listening to it. So to me, that's just a cultural bias.
Yeah.
And I think it's one, unfortunately, that is very real.
And that's your way of thinking that you described, which is, you know, how I think that feels right, that feels normal. For some reason, that is not normal. Like, we who think this way, we are abnormal. And I'm
I
trying to
hate
think
to tell you this, Alex, you're an artist.
Yes, and you are an artist as well.